Hey, welcome back to the channel. Today we're taking a look at the keyboard, for better or worse, for GMK Olive owners, the NK87 Olive Edition. Now, I do want to quickly mention there is a companion short form piece for this over at the Hardware Meta website, which I will have linked down in the video's description. There should also be a link in the top right corner of the screen. And if you're coming over here from the Hardware Meta content, welcome. Now, if you missed out on the group buy for the NK87 Olive Edition, don't worry, you can get this in an entry-level edition and other colors of the aluminum edition. Links for this and everything else that's discussed in today's video will be down in the description. Included with the keyboard is a hardshell storage case. I say storage because there is no included handle on this, and frankly, this keyboard is heavy enough. I can't imagine someone practically carrying it around like that. It's a sort of denim gray color with a white and blue NovelKeys logo on the outside. This is something of a missed opportunity for me, as I would have liked to have seen the case be color matched to the olive cap set that this was intended for use with. But it's nonetheless nice, and it gets the job done and gives you some room to store all of your accessories to go with it. Speaking of included accessories, there's a pretty generic coiled cable that's provided with this. I might have liked to seen this braided, and the included switch puller is fine. The teeth on the end aren't really aligned all that well, and unfortunately the metal used here ended up being thin enough that, as we'll discuss later on, would become a problem. The included cap puller is the nicest cap puller I have seen included in a keyboard so far. I really like to see ads like that because this is something you can carry to literally any other keyboard you work on. And if you're spending this much on the keyboard and the caps, there's no reason to not have nice accessories for working on your components as well. Now again, the colorway for this is designed specifically to match GMK's Olive cap set. Round 1 of this release is out in the wild. Unfortunately, I don't have that set on hand to test with, and round 2 isn't set for fulfillment until currently Q1 of next year. To that end, we're going to be introducing our new dedicated set of test caps for reviewing keyboards like this, the Drop DCX white on black caps. We'll talk about these more in a future content piece. The design for this is tray mount. It's simple, it's stiff. The plate also attaches to the top housing for additional acoustic control, so this actually sounds much more even than a typical tray mount design. The top housing does sit kind of close to perimeter caps, especially the F-row cap, so be careful with your cap puller when it comes to the finish of the keyboard. This particular TKL comes with a Sangen bottom row, which includes a 7U spacebar and 1.5U modifiers on the left and right hand side, with a 1U in the center. Also included is an F13 key, which really maximizes the use that you're getting out of a TKL form factor. PCBs by Yiankar, hot swap 5-pin south-facing sockets, per key RGB lighting, but it is worth noting that with the included switches and your GMK Olive caps, you're not going to really see much of the lighting at all. That said, it and the rest of the per key mapping and macro control are all accessible easily through VIA. There's a fairly steep included typing angle. I'm unsure of the actual measurement, but you really gotta like a nice angle on your keyboard if you want to daily drive this. To that end, there are broad rubber feet that run almost entirely along to both sides of the bottom of the keyboard, and given the heft of this keyboard with these feet, this thing isn't moving anywhere once it's planted. USB-C placement is off to the top right of the keyboard, kind of high up, so make sure you're angling any coiled cables you have to make sure that you're reducing as much tension on the connector as possible. Now, I unfortunately do need to spend some extra time on the two biggest opportunities for improvement with the NK87, and that's the plate and the stabilizers. The plate, unfortunately, has really tight tolerances on it, so much so that I had a difficult enough time removing the switches that I accidentally destroyed one of the contact pins for one of these switches. Not only are there not extra switches included with this keyboard, but unfortunately, based on my customer service experience, NovelKeys will not replace individual switches and will instead direct you to buy an extra pack. Now, thankfully, the client I'm building this keyboard for was actually kind of okay with just ordering another batch of switches anyway. Way they figure it, and this actually does kind of make sense, they're going to have enough switches now to carry over the switches and their Olive keycap set, which they paid quite a bit for, to any form factor they want. They now also have the ability to bin out any switches that have any undesirable characteristics even after lubing. Still, doesn't feel great, and I would really like to see the tolerances for the aluminum plate improved in future releases of the NK87. As for the stabilizers, they kind of need to go back to the drawing board with this entire experience. First of all, while they are lubed out of the box, it's not great lube at all. It's just bunched up just outside of the stabilizer stem. Almost none of it got into the stem, so not only did the stabilizers still tick, but there was so much lube that pushed through to the bottom that the stems were getting caught on the PCB as I was actuating switches to test this out at first. That's not a great experience and ultimately just results in me needing to take even more time to clean up someone else's botched lube job. Additionally annoying, but easily resolvable, was the absence of 2 of the washers underneath my stabilizers. The most egregious error for me is unfortunately a design oversight that tells me something kind of glaring about the design process. On the back side of the stem is a raised NovelKeys logo. The problem with this is a stabilizer stem needs to have smooth surfaces on all 4 faces that may come into contact with the stabilizer housing to ensure smooth up and down travel. You want the tactility coming from the switch, not from the stabilizer. And unfortunately, what ended up happening is with multiple cap sets I had in-house, the stabilizers were getting caught on that NK logo, resulting in a linear switch intermittently feeling like it has step tactility. I ended up replacing the stem with a Smoky Durock V2 stem that I had on hand, mostly to prove a point. The housings are great. The wires are great. Just like the plate mount stabilizers we reviewed, I really didn't even have to tune them. They just were kind of awesome out of the box. That raised logo sets you up for failure. I don't. The only thing I could think is that these weren't really tested with a broad range of switch types to verify whether or not that logo was going to catch. So until that logo is removed, I gotta recommend you just not use these stabilizers at all and just get different ones. The rest is actually good news again. The included muffle mats, or basically silicone case and plate treatments, do a really good job of toning out most of the resonant tones from the plate and the case, while FOC absorbers, or basically additional silicone strips, mounted in the top case will tone out any of the rest of the lingering tones from metal plates. The included Nolive Switches are basically an NK Cream launch edition that they color matched uniquely to GMK Olive. They carry the same 63.5 grams spring weight, though it is worth noting this is a gold-plated spring. These were lubed with 205 grade 0 on the stem, GPL 105 on the springs. So this one's got some layers to it. Let's start off with my impressions of the total package after we managed to get past all the quirks and foibles of this keyboard. There really is no better place to house your GMK Olive cap set than this keyboard. Everything looks so good as a color-matched set. And subjectively speaking, the board sounds great as well. Now, as you saw today, a white on black cap set is still going to look really good on this keyboard, and I actually do have some other recommendations down in the video's description if you don't have olive caps but would like something else that would still look good on a keyboard like this. As far as the Nolive switches go, if you like creams, you'll like these. If you like the weight of OG creams, or you want to go the opposite direction and make these a little bit lighter or a little bit snappier, remember that the springs are MX compatible, and you can always just swap them out for your preferred spring. As for NK87 Aluminum Edition as a standalone product, I would really like to see them improve upon the tolerances for at least the aluminum plate, though I would suspect that the brass and copper plates have similar issues to this one. it just grips switches way too tightly. Even stabilizer housings are kind of a tight fit in this plate and makes for an uncomfortable assembly and building and tuning experience. I also need to see that NovelKeys logo removed from the stabilizer stem. There is no reason for it to be there. Put it on the side of the stabilizer housing where it's not going to interfere with your fitment on the plate, it's not going to interfere with foam, it's not going to interfere with switches or any other part of the keyboard. And similarly, we still will not see or care about it. But man, this typing angle is nuts. Like, I personally don't know if I would be able to daily a keyboard like this. I certainly wouldn't want to use high-profile keycaps on a board like this, but there's no accounting for personal taste. And we'll have this board on hand for a little while, so again, sound off in the comments below if you'd be interested in hearing us do some more modifications to this keyboard to see how it impacts the acoustic profile. When this keyboard went live, it may have been a slightly more compelling option since it's an in-stock keyboard that you can just throw in your shopping cart and click buy. But the Tiger 80 and the Tiger 80 Lite now exist, and while I do not personally have those on hand to attest to their quality, there's enough review content out there now that I kind of feel like I need to take a look at those to see where NK87 really stacks up in the greater landscape. So sound off in the comments below if you'd like to see me try and get a Tiger 80 or Tiger 80 Lite in for review. And stay tuned because we've got another budget TKL review coming up that may interest those of you that are interested in spending maybe half of what one of these keyboards costs. Anyway, if you made it this far into the video, thank you so much for watching. You're the real goats. Make sure you toss the video a thumbs up on the way out if you liked what you saw. Make sure you're subscribed and notified so you don't miss any of our content when it goes live. And if you want to directly support the channel's efforts to continue to improve upon the quality and quantity of our content, make sure you check out our affiliate links down below or stop off and buy us a coffee. Every little bit helps. And we'll catch you all on the next one. Take care.